had my first baby in New York City. And I think it's definitely shaped what I do, like moving away from my family supports. It helped me to connect, and I had to make my own village.
Thank you so much for being here today, Tara. I really appreciate you coming. I think before I let you kind of get into what you do and introduce yourself, I'll probably just give everyone a background on maybe how we met.
Okay.
So we met basically, I'd say like early 2023, I think is around the time I reached out to you. I was actually listening to a doula. She was an herbalist, actually. I found her through like buying her herbal teas, but she was also a doula. And she was so adamant about how every woman who got pregnant should have a doula. She was like preaching. She was like, get a doula, like, it's worth it. And I was just like, what is this? Like, what is a doula? And like, why is she pushing it? But she was very, very adamant about it. So I started looking up doulas in Ireland. And, I think, trying to find someone to support the journey is what I kind of found of why she said, every woman should have a doula. I guess with birth, there's always lots of like fears, especially for like new parents, expecting parents. And also I guess it's sort of like traumas just for, around like, the way sometimes I guess women feel like, they're hurt or taken care of in the hospitals and things like that. So, having that support is definitely, I would say, very beneficial to not only, I say, the mother, but to like the partner as well and the family. Just going back to how I found you, it was actually in 2021, I had a miscarriage. I was 23 weeks, and I think by the time interventions were kind of going to be made, it was too late at that time. So when I did have a miscarriage, they did classify it as a miscarriage instead of a stillbirth. I was 23 weeks. So I knew the next time that I got pregnant, like I wanted to just have all the help I could get. And in 2023, when I got pregnant again with Rian, I felt finding a doula was definitely going to help in that journey. And I think it was just like divine timing of like how I found you, especially, you being American also. I think, that was really comfortable for me because, I was in Ireland. I didn't have my family here. I just had my husband's family. It was a different sort of, medical system or healthcare system than, what I would know in the States. And so having someone who obviously was, American as well, and doing this work, that brought me to you was very comforting. And I think you were just like the perfect person for me out of all the people I was looking through. So, that backstory with my own birth trauma and, having that miscarriage and just feeling, trying to fulfill a void now, right? By trying to step in to find these interventions, which was, obviously the medical team had to help as well, but just having my own comforts, I felt like having a doula was one of them. And everyone thought like, why do you need a doula? Like, you're crazy. But I mean, I don't think I would have been able to actually go through that pregnancy without a doula. So
it's amazing to support you.
And it's so funny because Paul would always think like I'm just always into all these like cracks and stuff, like just crazy stuff. And he was very like, when I saw that he was really like loved how you took care of us and saw the work you did and knew how important it was, I think it was great to help him also understand and come to this kind of like newfound, I guess just kind of, just newfound knowledge of information of like how some things that, we traditionally know and to things that, we kind of find out later in life, they can kind of, like help us move forward in the journey. So I guess I'll let you go in and kind of, tell everyone what you do and what exactly a doula is.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's just, I love that, you telling that story. And I think it just highlights also how people come to getting a doula in different ways and are looking for different things and connect to the support in different ways. So I remember Paul saying something about like his coaching would be his area. And he was saying it was kind of like, pregnancy and birth coach in a way, So like a doula is somebody that comes in at a particular time, like you connect with in a certain way. So we connected on the American side of things. And I had a baby in the States and then had 2 children here. So really understood navigating from that side of things as well, and finding your own, finding the supports and the carers that you need. The doula is somebody who is a lay person who's like offering, it's a non-medical role, and is there as a companion and a guide, as a coach, if you like, along pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. So for labor and birth and postpartum as well. And then it's somebody who is trained as a professional to understand the needs of pregnant people and new families. So there's different types of doula training, and there's actually all sorts of different doulas nowadays too. So while my area is in birth doula, I used to do some postpartum doula work too. But I've moved to just doing the birth doula work. So that's meeting somebody in pregnancy, getting to know them, getting to know their values and preferences, getting to know, I guess, what they need. Usually people that come and, get in touch, they've already kind of seen me and seen what I'm about and kind of, have a sense that I could work for them. So, but it is about interviewing loads of doulas and finding like that right fit. I don't know. Did you talk to loads of doulas when you were
I did.
looking?
Yeah, I definitely reached out to a few of them. I think it is kind of like, I don't want to say like, dating someone and just starting a relationship, because it is trying to find someone that's the right fit for you and, just also for your needs and things like that. And I like, again, like I just felt connected to you more because, again, like you're an American and just a lot of your birth practices just, kind of veering more towards like the natural side of things. Yeah. And I think that really spoke to me. I would say, just going back to, finding a doula and the supports that you offer. I think when you go into the healthcare system, and I think that's kind of what kind of stuck to me, it's just that sometimes you just need someone to be that voice for you or that support for you when maybe, I don't know, I know I had a birth plan, and sometimes some people, it's like you have these things you want. Sometimes not everything goes to plan, but you still kind of have someone there to kind of, for things that can go to plan, kind of make sure like those things are provided, as much as they can be. Yeah. And I think that is also like a really big help because, again, if you're just going in blindly, you're not really sure. I mean, you can read all the books, but again, everyone's, experience is going to be different. Yeah. It is nice to have that person there to kind of support you and check on you, and especially if you're let's say getting induced or something, and you might not be like, your mind is in millions of places. So I think that that definitely also helps, again, not only the mother, but the partner as well. Yeah. So the partner can be the best for you. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Without the stresses of wondering, well, is this the way things should be happening? Or, or what tools can I bring to it? What like skills can I bring? So the doula can help the partner as well. And but like that, say you mentioned like with an induction, there's so many decisions to be made along the way. So that's one of the like key things is, that I found actually was really helpful for me when I had continuity of a carer. And I found that somebody there to hold that space to go, this might feel like a really tough decision, anywhere it's like maybe something isn't going according to plan, something that you've prepared for, and that maybe it's taken a different path. And then it's just having that
opportunity to pause and reflect and go, okay, well, what's the information here? Is this evidence-based? What are the questions that I can ask from my care provider? And just having that opportunity to have the chat, to have somebody who's a sounding board, who's been there,
Exactly.
I suppose,
Yes.
who's been around the block,
yes,
and might know who would be the best caregiver in a particular situation, or who to ask for a second opinion, or what other supports. And then also, I guess one of the things that I was thinking about in terms of what I do, because it's funny because every journey is so different. That's my favorite part about being a doula, is that every single birth, every single relationship, it's always going different. It's not a standard day in the office ever.
right.
But what I was thinking, what was that I offered as a theme, and what it is, I think, is that there's so much talk of risk in our maternity system, and as soon as somebody presents to their GP, it's about getting in, the support, which care pathway, and what kind of risk factors that a person has, and there's so much focus on that. It's well, what about the focus on all the strengths? And even within those risk profiles, okay, well, what are you bringing to it? Let's keep the woman, let's keep the pregnant person center here.
I love that you said that, because that's honestly a part of the positive birth experience, and I think especially when there are risks involved, especially when you're considered high risk, I was considered high risk, you're just getting doom and gloom every time you go in there. We got to do this. We got to, we got to make sure, we got to monitor you. And it's just kind of enough already. I think a lot of things, obviously you were a big support, but my faith was also a big support. I had to rely on a lot of scripture, rely on a lot of prayer, and, my family as well. Just coming from that background, I was just tuning them out, learning to tune it out. They have their opinion and I have my opinion, and I stood firm on a lot of my beliefs, as much as I could, and, a lot of things that I wanted. But just, I think having the mother as the center and keeping, I think, those ideals that you said, what are the positive things or the things that, we can focus on, really can change the trajectory of how the pregnancy goes.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the labor experience, so there's actually some research around doulas in the birth space, not so much in the postpartum or other aspects, but in the birth space, having continuity of care of a doula in labor and birth does lead to higher satisfactions with the experience, better outcomes for mother and baby. So that's, the satisfaction is really important. It's whatever kind of birth that is, if the woman feels like she's at the center of decision making of what, the process, then the satisfaction rates are higher. So I really focus on that. There's a real over medicalization within our services, and I think just keeping the woman rather than the machines, keeping the woman and the baby and the family at the center is really important. Yeah.
No, that really is important. I'm really glad you said that. A lot of your work too involves a lot of mindfulness. I know hypnobirthing was kind of a thing, but even just listening to some of the tracks, kind of affirmations and things like that. Yeah. Do you want to speak about that a bit, or?
Yeah, I guess that's been sort of a journey of discovery, everything in the work. I got into this work by becoming a parent myself. And the things I suppose, yoga was something, in the meditation practices in yoga was something that I knew personally that worked for me. But what I found just working with lots of families over the years as an antenatal educator and as a doula, and also as a lactation consultant, just that in order to bring full capacity of the person, to be present, I suppose, to diffuse the stress of new experiences, and then, and major life transitions, there's going to be a lot of stress involved, and we want to bring up the oxytocin, we want to bring up the love hormone connection, the calm and connection. And that's the space where somebody feels calm and relaxed. That's the space where they can make just the right decisions for them, where they can hear themselves, where they can hear their babies, where they can, make those decisions that are right for them.
I love that you keep bringing up that, making the right decisions. The decision making is just, I guess, it's just so vital.
Yeah.
Because, you're just, you obviously want to do what's right for the baby. You want to do what's right for the mother. You want to do what's right for yourself. And, that decision making process, like it can weigh a lot on you with a lot of the things you have to decide.
Yeah.
Going through, just the birthing process, in general. So, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. And will I share the acronym?
Oh, yeah.
So if anybody's listening to this and has done anything in the birth world, they probably have heard this acronym before, but it's called BRAIN, and it's one that actually I've shared with friends outside of the birth space, and they've, when they're making big decisions in their life, and they found that this was really useful. So it's something that I bring to the antenatal classes as well, and I learned it through training to be an antenatal educator with Quidju. It's called BRAIN, and it's so if there's something, a decision that needs to be made, it's questions that you can ask. You can ask them of your care provider, you can ask them and look them up and find evidence-based resources and things like that your doula can point you to. But the acronym is BRAIN. It's what are the benefits for me and my baby? What are the risks or ramifications for me and my baby? What are the alternatives? And that bra alone just opens up a world of possibility, really, when it looked like it was a narrow path. And then it's taken the time to go, okay, sitting with that information, the benefits, the risks, and the alternatives. What is my instinct saying? And that could be an opportunity to have a phone call with somebody that you love, have a call with somebody that's supporting you, maybe it's your doula, and just sitting with that and maybe meditating on it, maybe doing a yoga nidra, maybe, all these tools that we have or talking to your partner, and then asking, okay, well, what if we do nothing for now? And that also opens up, like, okay, well, if you're asking that question of a care provider, it's like, okay, well, it's asking for individualized care. It's asking for, say, like, look at me, look at my baby. Are we healthy and well? If we are, is there any harm in waiting for now?
I love that.
Yeah. And then you can add an S for a smile.
Nice. Brains. Oh, that's so good. I remember you sharing that with me, and I think that is very important, especially when you're talking about instinct, because I think a lot of it is instinct too. Yeah. Like, obviously, doctors have their opinions and their recommendations, but a lot of it is instinct, because your body, how you feel. I don't know, maybe it's just a primal kind of thing, that we have, but you kind of have to, use your judgments. I know when I was, pregnant with Rian, the doctor was very adamant that he only needed 37 weeks. Like, that was a full-term baby. And I was like, I want him to stay as long as he can until he's ready to go. And, I pushed past 37 weeks. I got to him to like almost 39. But it was, again, like me just trying to kind of, I felt, that was the right thing to do. And I'm kind of glad, I did kind of push for what I want, because ultimately I knew I had to just trust myself. Yeah. I don't know. It's just something that's, I guess, that instinct.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have a lifetime of experience with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You really know.
And you're growing this baby, so those values and preferences that your instinct is guiding you towards, they need to remain central. And actually, evidence-based care asks for that. It's like, yes, you have the expertise of your care provider, and you have evidence-based information, but then as a third leg and a three-leg, it's still, you need the values and preferences of the person at the center of the care.
Exactly.
So without that, and we miss that so often with the way the system's just very, very busy. And But when you get to know your care provider, so in one way, with your care, you did get to know your care provider. So that was huge.
No, but that did make a difference.
Yeah.
It did. And I think that's why they probably trusted me a little bit too.
Because they got to know you.
Yes, exactly. And that is very important. I just want to go back to kind of like now, if someone's on this journey, they probably need that support. I guess what advice would you give them, or where can they actually start to, look for a doula?
I guess the first thing is like just finding out about options and birth options and place of birth, and finding the care provider that's right for you. And the first step is usually the GPs. So I would say, like, even reaching out to some of the community organizations, like, and talking to other parents. Like, so there's Cuidiú and La Leis League, and they have breastfeeding groups, but they also have, like, Cuidiú has antenatal groups as well, like a bumps and babes group and things like that. But just finding opportunities to talk to other parents. And I know that can be hard when working full time and everything like that. But so like talking to doulas, like getting some doula exploratory calls booked in, because a lot of the doulas will offer that. It's like, a half an hour phone call, Zoom call, or maybe a cuppa, and if they live close to you, and just ask loads of questions to find out about what your options are, and then you find out about doula support as well. I would say, like, going to doula.ie is the Doula Association of Ireland is the organization for doulas, national organization, and you'll find doulas all over Ireland. Then you can also do a social media search. I don't know. I'm not great on social media, but I know you can do a search for doulas that way too.
I did do it that way as well. That was, I don't know, I just use social media as a search engine now.
Yeah.
Because also, I think with the social media as well, and that's just kind of going back to finding someone with your ideals.
Yeah.
I did find a few people at the time who were like, again, they were very, I don't know, I'd say liberal in their approach, I guess that's the right way to put it. And it just kind of like, again, that spoke to me and like a lot of my views and how I feel about a lot of issues. So again, it's just that connection and, seeing again if that kind of relationship is right for you.
Yeah, exactly. And some people so doulas, like, just going back to kind of the definition, like it's a non-judgmental but emotional, physical, and informational support. So for some people, the informational side is like, the crux of it. But then also having an opportunity to discuss that information with somebody that will hold the space for you, and that is then offering that emotional support as well. But the physical thing, getting the cups of water, getting the cups of tea, and so those are all things. But different things will be important to different people. So I know, I'm a lactation consultant too. So sometimes people will want me there because I'll be there for the first feed. They want me there for the birth and then for questions afterwards and things like that. So different people want different things from their doulas, different expertise. Some are midwives, some who are also moonlighting as doulas. So
that is right. Yeah, that is so true. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges parents face, or I guess expectant parents face?
Yeah. Well, one of those is just finding out what the options are, because it's really hard to navigate. I mean, the HSC websites are getting a little bit better, but there is one, for example, there is a whole site page dedicated to home birth. So finding out about home birth options is accessible now in a way that it didn't used to be. But but the GP might not mention that, or might not mention different expertise that different doctors, lead consultants in the hospital might have. So it just kind of, it's hit or miss what information that is provided. And then also doulas, sometimes people learn about doulas who are at their antenatal appointments, and other people just don't don't, so like it's hit or miss. So I'd say getting consistent information about options, and then having continuity of care is a big challenge in our system. So there, again, there's movement to make that more regular, like in terms of, but that's, I suppose, focusing on women who are on lower risk care pathways. So I think actually there's a big gap in the middle where it's like lower risk women are having the opportunity to work with a small team of midwives or one-to-one, and then higher risk are getting specialized care with a particular consultant, and they get to know them on both sides. But then there's a whole group in the middle where that's not a feature, and some of the holistic care gets missed out on. So, and there's this massive strength, like the power and strength of birthing people. Like it's just incredible. And it's the thing that keeps me going. Like,
yeah. No, I think those antenatal classes as well help.
Yeah,
even if you could just get into one of those.
Absolutely. And independent antenatal class, if that's possible.
Yes.
So the QuidU antenatal classes that I run, and then there are some hypnobirthing classes out there. There's just I haven't started offering the hypnobirthing classes, but I weave in a few aspects of it in the ones that I'm offering. But there are independent classes. There are other doulas who are offering independent classes. There's some midwives out there, but I would say do the hospital ones, but also do an independent class. Yeah.
Independent class as well. Yeah, I think those are good.
And it's an opportunity to meet other parents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like, again, another support as well.
Huge, yeah.
I think I'm still in one of the WhatsApp groups.
Oh, cool. yeah.
I'm still in there because, it's always good to, go back and look for information.
Yeah, because things can get messy.
They can.
Especially in early parenthood or parenthood in general.
Yes.
But it can get messy, but that can be okay.
Yeah,
Do you know? And when
exactly.
you're with other parents and moving through it and navigating it too, it dissipates that worry and concern of trying to get everything perfect, because there's no such a thing.
It really does. No, it really was a big help.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tara, for sharing about the doula, just what you do and how to find a doula. I know this is still kind of like an expat kind of, podcast, so I don't want to neglect that part.
Yes,
and I would like to, still kind of ask you about, I guess your journey to Ireland and, how has that kind of shaped what you do now?
So I have been in Ireland for almost 20 years. Next year it'll be 20 years. So I guess I came with a 1.5-year-old. Like, it wasn't the first time that I was in Ireland. I met my now husband before that, and we moved to the States, and then we moved back. So it was kind of like a back and forth at the beginning. But I was coming to Ireland as a parent already. I had my first baby in New York City, and I think it's definitely shaped what I do. Like moving away from my family supports, it helped me to connect, and I had to make my own village, in a way, or just connect into what was happening in the community in a way that maybe I wouldn't have if my friends and family were surrounding me already. And you'll find that with some of the volunteer organizations like QuidU, that it's made up of a lot of people who aren't from wherever they're living, because they're like reaching out and connecting in with their village. So I was lucky, like coming to Galway, in that there is a transient community. Like, there are a lot of people that are new to Galway City anyway, I was able to meet people and I guess coming as a parent, I had this feeling like it was that new beginnings feeling, it's wonderful, and you're right in it. But, and it's like you could do anything and you could be anywhere. Like, as, a parent of a young child, like when I was in New York, I go to the playground and, make new friends instantaneously, because we were all there doing the same thing, chasing the kids around the place and making sure they were okay, but also, so we were on a shared journey, I guess. And then I felt like I could pick up and go anywhere. And luckily my job allowed that. I was working in publishing and I was working freelance. So I was able to take that work with me. And then met other parents in Galway that were kind of doing the same thing, but met them at, say, the groups, like the parent and toddler group.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
That was key place for me. And then that led to meeting somebody who lived around the corner from me, who was that person that would just, come to the door, knock on the door, but walk in and make herself a cup of tea. And I don't know, did I have that exactly when I was back home? I think I was more motivated to make those strong connections with people. And I have 2 sisters at home, and I think I have made a lot of sisters here,
Yes.
And, I suppose, and then getting into the work that I do, I found those connections. I found those connections through the groups, through the breastfeeding groups, through, I found other parent connections, just even to find freedom for myself and what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Like some people feel like, I guess, going to groups and I guess groups aren't for everybody, but like sometimes people have told me that they feel like, I don't know, they're seeing like a child doing something at a certain stage and their child isn't doing that thing or whatever. There are little stresses about coming together that can come up like that. But the other thing about groups that are well held, that are well facilitated, is that there can be a whole breadth of experience, lots of people doing lots of different things, and that's all okay. It's everybody navigates differently. And then when a group comes together in a nice way like that, then you can find the freedoms for yourself and find the way that you want to be a parent. You can see so-and-so doing something over here and so-and-so doing something. And I'm just like, okay, well, what do I want to do? So I think being an expat allowed for more and more of that freedom, because I didn't have expectations of loads of people around me that knew me forever.
I love that you actually said that, because I was saying that I want to start going to those parent and toddler groups. Yeah. And I wasn't even thinking about myself. I was thinking more for Rian, because I was like, he has, his little friends actually, at the childminder and stuff. Yeah. But it'd be nice to meet some other friends, I'm sure, like you said, also they're transients, different cultures as well. Yeah. And kind of get like mixed in with the group like that as well, because coming again from the States, it's so culturally diverse, and I think it's good to have that exposure, at such a young age, and, but even now, I'm like, now I need to go for myself also.
Yeah, for sure. It's as much for the parents to share a cup of tea and just...
Yeah, especially, again, being an expat and finding that community, and you're saying you find kind of like sisters, a new sisterhood. Yeah. And those are other avenues. I never really thought about it like that, but those are other avenues that you can use to kind of, immerse yourself here. That's so inspiring. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Tara. I never really thought about that. Yeah. Do you have any maybe advice or tips you'd want to leave? I say you could probably just give on, again, that support about birth, or again, expat life, anything you want to leave with that you feel would be worthy of sharing before you go, or any last tidbit of advice?
I don't know. I suppose if anybody's feeling stressed on their journey, or, whatever that transition might be, I suppose just to know that that stress can mask all of your strengths, and that just to find somebody that you can talk to, who can listen with non-judgmentally, who can offer active listening support. And that might be somebody that you're related to, or it might be somebody that you rein in, who you don't know otherwise, who might be on a list of, like, say, for example, the Quid You channels have parent supporters and breastfeeding counselors, and they're there for, it's like a whole list of numbers where you can ring and just chat through things. It might be that you're looking for options or anything like that, but just anything, or it might be meditation, but just know, I suppose, that once that stress is diffused, when you find that thing that will help to diffuse that stress, that you have a really, really strong instinct and strength, I suppose. I guess that's the overall kind of, based on what we've been talking about and everything, that I would like to leave with.
Oh, I really appreciate it. You are really like a light worker, and I really appreciate what you do, because it's definitely needed, and you don't know like how important it is really for not only, like I said, the mother, but the partner. And I just thank you so much for being here and sharing today.
Well, it's my privilege, and it's just like, I mean, I get so much out of the work that I do. Like, I mean, I don't know, I don't really feel like it's work.
Right.
Do you know?
That's good. Yeah, you're definitely passionate about it. You can see that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to share the links below.
Fantastic.
With everything you shared today, it was a lot of information, so they can make sure to find you. And thank you so much,
Fantastic.
Tara. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.